So, final topic for today, guys, as always, comes from the audience. A bunch of different questions. If you want us to answer your questions, go to the Kinda Funny forums at kindafunny.com/forums and leave them in there. There'll be a thread that says, what are your Gamecast topics?
Or support us on Patreon.
Or do that too. Yeah, there's a lot of different things.
Are you still going to tweet out? Because I told somebody yesterday who was asking, how do I get my question on the show? I was like, I'm pretty sure Tim usually tweets everything out.
I usually do.
Did not
Probably
today?
going to stop doing that. I didn't do it today. But you know what?
Well, now I feel like a dick to that
No,
guy.
but
I'm
hey,
sorry if that was you that I told that.
This is a
If you're
time-sensitive
listening,
one.
tweet at me. We'll still do it. It'll be great. First question comes
Hey,
from
I'm the dude.
JohnMin33.
Jamin.
What do you think will be the biggest announcement at E3?
The biggest, like the most
Fallout
important, is
4.
Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think will be the biggest.
The completely wild prediction that I came up with like yesterday or Sunday on the park. I was telling somebody, I was like, how crazy would it be if like something like Hearthstone came to consoles and handhelds? Like obviously Blizzard doesn't have a presence typically at E3, but like if that showed up in a conference, that'd
That'd
be
awesome.
insane.
Yeah.
They already have the relationship with PlayStation.
And I've
Well, I
tweeted
guess
at Geo to get Hearthstone on
Good
the
job.
video.
Hashtag building list.
Yep, did that.
You think Fallout?
The problem is if there's going to be something bigger than Fallout, it's going to be out of left field. It's going to be something you weren't expecting, like a new
Jet Moto.
a new Vita.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jet Moto, sure. NX is out tomorrow, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? It'd have to be fucking something we weren't expecting. If you're expecting it, doesn't really count, right?
Well, I mean, we expect Fallout.
And that's why we expect it to be the biggest.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
like apart from that, I mean, do like the Gears remaster, do we think that'll be all of them or the Uncharted remaster, do we think that'll actually happen?
I think the Gears one, unless Black Tusk is just straight up lying, I think it's just the first game.
Yeah, which I don't.
Uncharted.
Like that's like the God of War 3 one. I'm like, why does that make sense?
Yeah, the God of War 3 thing is just annoying. Because I really don't get that at all. I really don't get it. That game's already beautiful. You don't need to bring it to PS4.
Yeah, but now it's 60 frames per second.
And,
But it's the
and
install
they are
base.
giving. I mean, if you pre-order it, you can get the PlayStation Now rentals of the first two games.
Don't forget
as
that
well.
Magma Red DualShock 4
yeah,
controller.
it'll come eventually.
Yeah, Fallout 4 is going to be the
Serious
winner
time.
of
Hashtag
that
serious
conversation, I think. But I think that you'll see other things. I think Uncharted Trilogy is a no-brainer. I'd be really shocked if they don't do that. And maybe they won't announce it here, but that's got to be coming. And that makes sense. You want to gear people up for Uncharted 4, and I get that. A lot of people didn't have PS3. But I think that I think we're going to see a lot of things like that. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mass Effect Trilogy. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like Fallout 3 in New Vegas or Skyrim on the next gen console. So I think you're going to see more of that kind of compilation shit, which annoys me a little bit. I'd like to see better, newer games, and I'm sure we'll see those too. The problem is that everything's split up so much between PSX and Star Wars Celebration and all these things where you have to save announcements. Where like you would expect that maybe EA would come out in a normal year and be like, this is what Amy Hennig's working on, and this is what the Star Wars game looks like, and this is when it's coming out. But you don't know, like now that there's like all these other considerations, you don't know like what they're gonna have to keep under their hat. There's just too many fucking shows, and that's why Sony's just straight up like, we're not going to Gamescom. You know,
when do you think they'll show Amy Hennig's game? Like I mean, Celebration was a great experience, and you got to see Battlefront there for the first time. So I think that kind of paved the way and cleared out the room. So you might see that Star Wars game.
I don't know. It might be a little too early. You have to assume she went there.
Yeah, but they gave us the presentation docs what was that last year's E3 where they just kind of were like, these are all the games we're working on, and here's the design documentation.
I think this year will be different because
yeah.
they have things to show, though.
Yeah.
That year their hands was forced. So like,
Right.
we have nothing really fucking to
Forced.
promote. So we got to show you what's happening.
Yeah, and we already know that they're Mirror's Edge, for instance, and all these games. So I mean, they're gonna show things like that. It might be a little too soon for Amy Hennig's game, but yeah, I think Fallout 4 is the obvious. That's the game that's going to be huge. The other thing that I can think about is if Nintendo really was, and I think probably is making a 3D Mario game.
I don't know,
and I
man.
think but I think it's probably being shifted off of Wii U, and
Yeah.
that would be the smart move. I don't know if they're going to do that.
I'm really interested to see what Nintendo does at E3 because I don't know. They're in such a weird place right now where it's like, okay, they got Splatoon coming out now or whatever, and Smash Bros is already out. Maybe they announced more DLC for that, but then what?
The voted on playable character.
Yeah,
Drop bones.
There's Star Fox, and like that'll be cool to all of us that care. But what is next? Are they going to talk about the NX at all? That'd be.
They've already said they're not talking about NX the rest of this year.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, cool. So
Yeah,
then what are
presumably
you talking about?
DNA
Zelda?
probably.
Just Zelda? But didn't they say they're not talking about Zelda?
I don't think they're talking
They
about.
said Zelda's not going to be there.
Yeah, well, it's
But
like,
they'll probably
I mean,
talk about it.
they're not going to be there, so they could still do a direct on
that's
it.
true. Yeah. I mean, they're definitely going to mention Zelda,
Yeah.
but
It'll be
have a
Star
booth
Fox
this
and Mario Maker will probably be the big.
I don't
Mario. It's crazy.
I mean, in
fucking
terms
Mario
of
Maker
conference,
again.
They're not going to be there.
Like, are we really going to get another E3 focusing on Mario Maker?
They have nothing else to say. I
that's
mean,
insane.
Nintendo. they're losing. You know, like it's just like they have to recalibrate. I mean, I couldn't believe last year when they weren't gonna have a presence like an E3 like conference. I was like, I can't believe this.
They're just gonna announce
I think
100
that's
new
all fine,
amiibos.
though.
I don't
Amiibo.
think that's all fine. I mean,
Sorry.
clearly it's not. So like, you know, the company is definitely evolving and changing, and I wonder. I'll be interested to see what they have to say. I really hope that they have some aces, you know, some trump cards up their sleeve that they're going to be able to play because they need them. You know, they really need them.
I'm really interested to see what they do with Mario specifically. I wonder if there will be a 3D like Galaxy sequel or whatever with it, or if they really just do HD remasters of Galaxy 1 and 2, or
I'd play them.
I mean,
if they
you
make
got
another
Mario
3D
Maker.
bland world.
Or
Whatever.
like maybe they just show off a ton of Mario Maker levels.
And that's what we were saying. Like
I
that
hope
would be
that's not
that
it.
was like last year's E3. Like I'm really excited about Mario Maker.
gonna
I
be
think that
great.
game's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
But and I think that that's a great reason to play Wii U.
Mhm.
But yeah, hopefully they don't focus on that again. I think Star Fox will probably be the marquee game.
That excites me though. The fact that Star Fox might be their fucking game. I'm like, yes.
It's a
Give
good
me
sign
that.
and it's a bad sign.
Yeah, very true. Evan Cronus wants to know, if you created a game, what would be the most important to you? Story, gameplay, or presentation?
Gameplay.
Gameplay,
Yeah.
all day.
I mean, I love story, but yeah, if it's a slog to play through it,
Exactly.
I'll read a book.
That's true. I mean, you know, I feel like gameplay is the right answer, but like I think presentation definitely deserves a shout out there because it's like that's the difference between an amazing game and a good game. Like if the gameplay is good enough, but the presentation is immaculate, I feel like that makes it a very special experience.
Yeah, but I mean, like Tetris, the gameplay is
The gameplay is- yeah,
and
is-
that's
for
from,
sure,
from
for
the
sure.
list this morning. That's what the #1 selling game is.
Yeah.
But then what the counterbalance to that's what Gone Home,
Mm-hmm.
where the gameplay isn't really it, right? You're
I
playing
mean,
through for the
and
story.
yeah, and that's certainly, I mean, it's a great
And
another
that's
piece, but
debatable too. Is it story or presentation?
Sure.
You know. So Jack Daniels 524.
Jack Daniels.
Daniels. Why is the gaming market the only market to deal with delays? Movies and music just get released on time.
Bullshit. What
Why
is
is
he talking
this?
about?
That's not true.
Yeah,
Throw
that's
this
just
question
not
out.
true.
That's not true at all. That's a weird question. There have been albums that have been delayed by years.
Yeah.
And movies that
Batman v
Superman.
Superman got
yeah,
delayed.
and movies that are delayed too. So
Yeah, that definitely happens. I think that
Yeah.
we face gaming and gaming delays, and that's such a prominent thing in our industry because games take so many years to make, and so many people are involved and work on them and all that. Whereas movies take years to make, but movies turnaround times, I'd say, average 2.5 years, and that's one of those things where there's so many people working on that, but you can kind of have a guess of when it's going to be finished. There's like an order to it all. Video games, there's so much Q&A testing. There's so much like things, stress tests and all the stuff that it needs to go through that things happen and things change and everything changes. Whereas movies, it's like it's going to end up in the theater and it's going to show. We know it needs to be edited. It needs to be shot.
Yeah.
Like there's order.
But I mean, even with movies, you have a starting point. You have people that you're shooting, whereas a game you have to build from the ground up.
Yeah, that's true. And you have to, I mean, it's,
And you don't necessarily know how long that's going to take.
yeah. And I think that a lot of it, the business, it's just the way that the industry does business. It's like there is the E3s where things are announced and there's a pressure to announce things. So I feel like, I mean, movies have that too, and there's Comic-Con and all that, but I feel like gaming has a very unique system with E3 specifically, where there is a pressure to announce bigger things than the other guys announcing, even if you're not ready to announce it, which means people think that games are being delayed. I would be willing to bet that for the people out there listening, if you're upset about a game that you love being delayed, it probably never was actually delayed. You just heard about it and assumed it was going to come out.
Right.
It
Nobody
didn't.
ever confirmed or denied if it was this year. And then
Yeah.
they finally say it's spring of 2016. Like,
Oh, it's delayed. It's like, no.
Well, Witcher was delayed.
There are
few
games that
times.
do get delayed.
Exactly.
You know, like
games
there-
get delayed all the time.
Yeah, it does happen. But I'm just saying, I feel like there's a bad stigma with delays that you're just misusing words.
Yeah.
You
Where
know,
somebody hears
but-
spring and thinks,
Oh, it's-
early next year, when spring technically doesn't happen until like end of March. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're more cognizant of it, but movie, like Greg said, movies get delayed, and when you listen to bands give interviews, albums always get delayed. Like it's always happening. Like bands will be in the winter, be like, oh, our album's gonna be out next summer, and it doesn't come out for another year after that.
Yep.
Like it always happens because you it's not a bad thing. Like delays are almost always good. They're almost always a good thing. That's what I've been trying to. Would I want one of my favorite bands to rush their album out and it's fucking half-ass mastered and the sound's a little off and they're not happy with these songs or they need a little bit more time to write and stuff like that? I'd rather have the album that they want. Same thing with games. If they, the guys at CD Projekt Red needed more time, they got more time. And
Here we are.
And yeah, and the game's awesome. So, and I always use this as an example. Naughty Dog says that the difference between The Last of Us being okay and great was like literally 6 weeks. So like they literally needed 6 weeks to like finish the game. And everyone forgets that game was delayed, and we are better off for it. It's one of the great games of all time. So just be patient, but it's not, it might be endemic or an epidemic, I should say, in the gaming industry, but it's not exclusive to the gaming industry by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. Daniel Salas, with smartphones around, will handheld consoles die out?
Yes.
I think eventually.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or do the handhelds try and partner with the like cell phones?
I mean, I think that's what it is. It's like, I think on a hardware perspective, they'll be gone. But yeah, Nintendo will make the stuff. Will Sony ever make?
I mean, Sony has.
They already
like,
did.
They have
Sony
phones.
Mobile already have it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. Then.
Yeah, I mean,
that shit's gone.
it sucks, but I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, right? That's another thing we were talking about with, Nintendo still doing really pretty well with the 3DS because they have a younger market, maybe that doesn't have phones or not as engaged with their phones, and they play, they want to play Pokemon and all those kinds of things. I'll be interested to see what that market looks like after DNA starts releasing games because once you can get your Nintendo fix on iOS, whether the games are good or bad, I have no idea. If they're going to be like Mario Endless Runners or you're going to get a real Pokemon game, I don't fucking know, but probably not. I wouldn't get
I know,
up.
but my lord, that's be so fucking good. But the NX is the interesting thing.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see like what that all looks like. Vita's a clear sign, another sign that handheld gaming is just a very small niche, and it's like we were talking about with I don't know when we were talking about this on Colin McGregor, maybe on this show, where it's like the fact of the matter is that these bigger companies, Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo, they're not happy making just a little bit of money. That's not worth it for them. They'd rather not make a product at all if it's going to make them a little bit of money. They need to make money. They have shareholders, and they need to reinvest this money. So if in a shrinking market like handhelds, does it make sense for these companies to make these products anymore? Clearly not.
Yeah.
So I think that certainly Sony, well, I've said Sony is the company that's crazy enough to make another handheld, and I think that I still think there's a chance they would. They're not going to. And Nintendo, the NX might be their hybrid or their phone or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. But yeah, the handheld gaming's dying.
The only world you can see where Sony's like, we're going to make another handheld, right, is if they're like, we're going to do what with, we'll say Vita 2, what we did with PlayStation 4, where we have the conference and we're like, hey, everybody, we heard you. We put 2 triggers on it. We removed all the touch functionality, and somehow somehow every game on PlayStation 4 is cross-buy, cross-play. And I know that's impossible, but you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like, that's the kind of move they need. Sorry?
You're forgetting one thing.
And also, ladies and gentlemen, we know we fucked up by not having Crash Bandicoot. So here's Brash Candipoot.
Yep.
He's a new character we made.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome if they
Fuck
made
you,
Brash
Activision. We got Brash Candipoot.
See, to that point, I would be because I'm very curious as to what like a PlayStation experience looks like without the handheld in the ecosystem.
Right.
Because that was a huge component of
because they finally had their audience in a barrel, right?
And now that the PlayStation is the PS3's fading away, what if they continue doing that? What will it can't just be a bunch of PS4 stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, I think, last week, where I was like, I'm interested to see what kind of FaceTime Vita gets at E3.
It's nothing.
If they don't say anything about Vita, then you know that the die is cast for that.
This is the whole thing, though, is what does nothing mean? Because they'll have games out there like, this is going to be cross-buy, cross-play day one with Vita. That's going to be it. There will be games announced that are shown for this. There'll be a sizzle reel that'll have some fucking stupid-ass shit we'll rewind. It's like, was that Patapon? I don't know.
Or what if that the Vita with double triggers is an E3 announcement?
Mind blown. That'd be awesome.
Does that supplant Fallout 4?
I mean, that would have the possibility, right? But I mean,
they're not going down.
The whole thing, exactly. The whole thing would have to
Crash
change.
Bandicoot.
Crazy. Shoe
I'm
is
calling
crazy.
it now. Crash Bandicoot or fucking Brash
They'd
Candipoot.
have to come out and be like, hey, everybody, we've redesigned the Vita again, given it 2 triggers for remote play. Memory cards are getting knocked in half on terms of price, and also Brash Candipoot. He comes out. He's got blue fur and orange shorts. He's Codex fucking screaming off stage.
New developer Dotty Nog.
All right.
Attaboy's just flipping off Activision as he walks away.
Fred Asparagus. Why do some games not allow you to pause? For example, Bloodborne. How do you think it would give me an edge? How?
Yeah, that shit's annoying to me too. But the idea that that world's designed for people to jump in and out, even if you don't want that to happen or if you turn that functionality off. So I think that's just their baseline.
Yeah.
It annoys the shit out of me too. Like in a game like that, you have to just find a safe
Corner,
corner, like a nook, and just walk away. Like I hate that shit too. Like there's there's a few things I've said before in the past, like if I were to design a game that just seemed like no-brainers to me, that's one of them, right? Just pause the game. Like, what's the big deal? And the other thing is like button mapping. Like, just map whatever you want. I don't care what you want to do. I hate when people are like, this is the way the game's played.
This is our control scheme.
This is our control scheme. This is the way it's going to feel. I'm like, why? Why can't I just map it? You know, like, what's the big... to give players some choices. Yeah, that's a great point, though. It's annoying as shit when you can't pause the game.
Yeah.
But I mean, to that point, like, I wonder how much extra work goes into creating that functionality where you could just kind of map everything to everything.
Sure.
Is it for? I mean, like, I never change the settings on my. I just play the game the way they told me to play it, and
Really?
and just
Oh,
go
man,
with
I
it.
get in there, and I'm like, I tweak the living shit out of stuff. I want it to be perfect.
I can't do it.
The Witcher's an interesting example, like where you have to press circle to climb in The Witcher. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I press circle?
Double click.
I will
your
say that
stick to call your horse. You're
I
like,
take
what?
that back. I did go and change Final Fantasy VII. Every time I play that, I switch circle
the
and
Japanese
X.
to American. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I mean, you don't have to do it, and I'd say 99% of the games I don't touch the controls at all, except for inverting the axis or whatever. But it's just why not? You know what I mean? Like give people some choice and some control. Halo was always really good at that, I thought. Even with like Southpaw controls and stuff, which is like unheard of today. You know, like a lot of games don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Brown Bear asks, will Bethesda give us a remastered edition of Skyrim and the Fallout games, as well as Fallout 4?
I think it's within the realm of possibility.
I say no to the Fallout games. Skyrim, I think, is that's like the only reason with not doing it is I feel like it would steal some of Fallout's thunder. If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
You think,
they're
you
already-
think it would steal the thunder even if it's just HD?
Yeah,
I mean,
do.
they're
'cause
already
it's-
trying to get people on Elder Scrolls Online.
Good point. That's an excellent point too. I forgot about that. That's a really good point.
That's coming to console like a week before E3. So,
Yeah. But I
they're
do
going to be trying to hype that and not necessarily.
I think
say,
it does
"Hey."
because if you're a Skyrim fan, you're like the guys who did Skyrim are now putting out this game, then you're like, oh, cool. But if like and they're putting out Skyrim as well, then you're starting to split the audience. And well, I can only play one 60-hour
Yeah.
RPG.
Okay.
I think it's totally within the realm of possibility.
I think it's possible. Don't get me wrong.
General
Probable,
Comray,
though.
do you think we'll ever see another Advanced Wars or Battalion Wars?
Oh fuck!
Yes.
Wish.
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Advanced Wars was
Nothing's
so
ever
good.
dead, man.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
it's dead, but I don't know.
Not
But
Nintendo, especially. No,
Nintendo doesn't go back to the right games.
Yeah.
That's
No
the problem.
Yeah, they don't. But like Advanced War would work on a phone pretty well. You know, they're gonna have to start going through their catalog
That'd be
and starting
awesome.
to figure out what makes sense on their phone or on a phone, iOS and Android.
Yeah.
And I think that the obvious thing to do is make Pokemon games. But apart from that, like you have to go in your catalog and be like, well, Fire Emblem and Advance Wars work really well.
But
for instance.
what would the microtransaction look like in an Advance Wars?
I don't know. Different vehicles, power ups. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the
Fog of
problem.
War for
Yeah.
3 squares for $3.
That's
But
the
then,
that's
but then you
DNA's
run
style.
into your Plants vs Zombies where you won't play that Advance Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hope Nintendo still gives people the option to just buy the fucking game.
Yeah, and
I don't think I'm sorry.
something tells me that Nintendo's not gonna go too far down the horrible microtransaction route. Like, I think it will be an option, but I think you'll be able to buy the Pokemon game that will come eventually in my dreams, and then you can just pay for it.
It'll be right
Whatever
there with
the
the
price
MMO
is.
one.
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah.
There's every reason to be scared of what DNA is going to do to Nintendo because that is their style. And Kotaku wrote a really good piece about that a few weeks ago. Or like, just so you know, this is what DNA does. All of they dominate the charts. All of their games are microtransaction laden and free. And this is probably what Nintendo's going to look like. And I read that. I'm like, it's an interesting point. But Nintendo has enough sway with DNA, and they own a piece of DNA now, where they can be like, well, this is not the way we make games. You know, I'm sure they're going to be microtransactions and free to play games, but hopefully they're like, but our players don't necessarily want that. So give them the option to buy the premium version of the game outright. And if they don't buy that, then you can fucking nickel and dime them. And that was the point you were bringing up with Plants vs. Zombies 2. I couldn't play that game after a while because I'm like, I can't fucking handle this. Like, I would have gladly given you $20. I would have given you $50 for this game. But because you're just busting my balls all the time, I'm not giving you shit.
Yeah.
You know, like... So they need to be careful about that and understand their consumer. If they want to bring Nintendo fans to phones, they gotta... They have to understand the
I think it'll be
sensibilities.
both. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be there's going to be the couple games that you can pay the $20 experience, and there will be a lot of free to play, just mobile games.
We'll see.
I
5 of them
don't
are in
play
development.
mobile all that much, but I picked up, like the Final Fantasy fan that I am, I picked up the new one, Final Fantasy Record Keeper, which is by DNA. And the pay element in that is like you can spend some money to get a chance at better gear. Like you get free gear, you get a free gear drop every day. That's rated on a scale of 5. And if you pay, you can get a guaranteed 3-star or better. But you also can get like mithril to like store up and buy one of those things out the gate. So the model's there. If you want to pay, you can try your luck at getting more gear. It's one of those things I'm never going to, because it's still playing the lottery to get the better gear.
Yeah.
Like there's no guarantee I'm gonna get the thing that I'm hoping to get.
Final question for the day. Slurpee Man Tony.
Nice.
Love it. What games on the PS4 would you go back and play with Spotify music playing? I thought this was an interesting question. Is there a game? Does that change the experience enough for you guys?
Sorry, which console?
PlayStation 4.
PlayStation 4.
Yeah, now with Spotify functionality. Integrated.
It's so rare for me to play a game and mute it and play. You know, what I mean, like it happens. Like DC Universe Online, I used to play podcasts and just run around and do whatever, like farm exobits or whatever, something like that, where I've put in 500 hours. I have nothing new to hear or do. That's a different thing. But other games, I want to hear all of it.
Yeah,
I mean, like
I'm a
something
big
like Borderlands or Diablo, like where it is just kind of loot grinding.
Yeah.
Destiny. Yeah, I might do that.
I'm weird when it comes to anything like movies or TV shows, or I'm very weird. Video games, but like I want whatever they designed for me. I want that whole experience. So it's like even if it is just menu like clings and clangs and stuff, like I want to hear little sound effects and stuff.
I have distinct memories of, because I didn't always used to be that way. I like anytime I play or think of Chrono Cross, I associate with Bare Naked Ladies and vice versa, because like I played that game with the sound off and was listening to a couple of their albums just kind of on repeat and loop.
Yeah.
And so those two are forever linked for me. I don't know if I need that experience with other things. I mean, if I'm playing something like Civilization, I might do that, but that's not PlayStation 4. So
yeah, I remember back with the original Xbox, it was a big deal that you could rip CDs to the Xbox, and then there were certain games you could like listen to the whatever music you had, and that was really cool. But that was part of the thing. If the Spotify playlist were then actually in the games, it only works for certain games. Like sports games would be great.
If I could do GTA, a radio station was my Spotify playlist. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. But just having Spotify instead of stuff, there's no game I'd go back and do that with.
Even Peace Walker there, you click on your Walkman, a snake, walk around, you just play your
Well, but that's awesome if you did that.
Yeah.
But if it's just having Spotify instead of the game, like, no. I'm not down with that. But I love that in Metal Gear Solid 4, where it had, you can just listen to the...
Find music in the game and listen to it,
That was good. It was really, really cool. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the...
Real quick, can I ask one last question since I've got Colin here? PS4 best game now, Resogun or Shovel Knight?
Oh, Resogun.
Still Resogun?
Because I think that Resogun's native to PS4. Shovel Knight's really not. So, and I still think Resogun's probably a better game.
Okay.
It's the same argument with The Last of Us. The Last of Us is obviously a great game. It's a 10. But it's native to PS3. So I'd still say Resogun's the best PS4 game.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Well,
that's been bothering me for months.
Keeping you awake at night. You're tossing
Since they announced it at PlayStation Experience, I was like, I wonder what Colin's going to think now.
Game changer. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the first and last ever episode 21 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys. These are the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller. And that beautiful son of a bitch over there is Trevor Starkey. He's one of you, just like we are. We're all one. Best friends, all of us. This table, Kind of Funny. I'm just throwing out words at this point. But thank you so much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. Do you have a good time?
I had a great time.
Good.
I was so glad I managed to not just kind of sit here silently the whole time.
No, you did really good.
No,
You
this
were
is very
really
engaging. Everything was great about this. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, do something nice for your community.
That was really nice. Like plant a tree.
Yeah, plant a tree or something.
Be a
get
vigilante.
a stop line
Be
installed.
a vigilante.
Don't do that.
Go out and find people doing bad things, and you punch them.
And punch the bad guys.
Yeah, that's what.
Just punch them hard.
Yeah.
Then call the cops. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how Batman started.
Me neither.
There's no movies dictating that. There's no one's ever told that story of how Batman got started. His parents were bad. They don't understand.
No, they died in an alley, Greg.
I don't think that's right.
No, it is.
You're thinking of Daredevil.
Definitely not.
No, Daredevil's dad died in a fight.
Fuck!
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm so bad at this.
I wanted to bring up that I was wearing my baller shirt because this obviously is for this community what baller feels like.
Yeah, fuck, damn it. Oh, next week I will.
I mean, I'm still recording.
No.
Well, I've got a possible end credits tag if you want to do that. If I were young, I would run without stopping. If I were old, I would cherish my days. If I were you, I would what's the line? Count all my blessings. And if you were here, we'd fly away. Go Beyond, Danny and Tori, 2-player co-op.
Put that at the end of this thing.
Piss poor Christopher Walken impression.
Oh, trust me.
Thank
there's
you.
Many worse ones.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute utmost pleasure to serve you.
Thank you.
Dude, thank you for doing this, man. This was a lot of fun.